and mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage. The 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo, that's loud. That was loud. But what's going on, peoples? Man, how y'all doing? How y'all been? How was y'all week? What's going on? First and foremost, thank you to all those people listening, tuning in, checking this show out, whether it be today, tomorrow, next week, whenever you get the chance to listen to the show. Man, I appreciate you so much. Could you be listening to anything else, but you're listening to my thing? For some odd reason, I guess it's good enough for you to tune into, but I appreciate you, man. How was my week? I don't know how to describe this week. Work-wise, it wasn't too bad. Everything outside of work was kind of reckless. Let's just say it was just a week, right? Let's just say it's a week. That's kind of important, right? Because I deal with a lot of depressed individuals who make it a point to, like, I have to be happy and I have to be, like, great and happy all the time. And, like, being happy all the time is not going to happen. Being happy all the time is not going to happen. Being good all the time is not going to happen. And reaching a state of happiness 24/7, I don't know if that's honest. I don't know if that's you being honest with yourself. Only because there are going to be times in which you're going to be angry. There are going to be times in which you're going to be sad. And if the goal is to be happy all the time, then we're not willing to deal with the emotions, or we're not willing to acknowledge the things that's going to come on the other side of happiness, right? And those emotions are just as important as being happy. You know, being mad is just as important as being happy. Being angry is just as important as being happy. You know, a lot of us kind of preach being happy, but when we're preaching all of these things to be happy, but we're not helping people understand the importance of being angry, the importance of being sad, the importance of being at least knowledgeable, accepting and willing to feel those other emotions, then we're not allowing that person to be their full self, right? We're not allowing that person to be completely one, right? Because there's multiple sides to the spectrum, right? There's multiple sides to that person, right? And what happens when we avoid a lot of those other emotions, things like what's going on right now is going to come out, right? What happens when we avoid anger all the time? It's just going to boil up and it's going to blow over. What happens when we avoid sadness all the time? It's just going to boil over, right? It's going to lead to you being increased depressive. When you hold that anger, it's going to lead into you popping off on the next person, right? So this week was kind of like, right? It's in the middle, right? And sometimes it's okay to just be cool. It's okay to just be okay. It's okay to just be like, yo, I'm not sure where I'm at. Because right now, I'm not sure where I'm at. I'm not sure if I'm angry. I'm not sure if I'm mad. I'm not sure if, like, I'm good. I'm not sure if I'm just chill. Like, I don't know what it is. And everything doesn't need to have an answer. Everything doesn't need to have a label. Sometimes things need to just be. And if you're okay with things just being, if you're just okay with that, just be okay with where you're at, then that's cool. Let's not try to chase something that may not be there. Let's not try to grab onto something that may not be there. Let's not try to act happy. But at the same token, let's not get down on ourselves for not being happy. Right? As long as we're in a state of calmness, right? As long as we're in the state of peace, that's what's most important. Because you don't have to be happy-go-lucky all the time and everything else, but as long as you're just calm. Am I calm right now? I don't know. I feel anxious. I feel like I want to do something bad. I feel like I want to get into the ways I was back when I was a teenager. And those were times in which I was extremely quick to get into it with people. Yeah, extremely quick to get into it with people. Extremely quick to get into it with authority figures. Right? As a kid, I used to fight a lot. Especially with police officers. I just did some things to some cops. I am lucky to not be in jail right now because of all the things that I've done. But I don't know. There's a mixture of emotions that's going on right now, and to kind of sum them up, it's just kind of, I'm just here, and that's okay. That's okay. So moving on forward into the self-care piece, I think this self-care piece is probably one of the most important self-care pieces, only because I speak about this a lot, but this is something that I have been consciously making sure I've been doing, and this is a question I've been constantly asking myself every morning. Where will I place my energy today? The self-care piece I don't want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen is to ask themselves a question each and every morning. Where will you place your energy today? Obviously, what's going on right now is vitally important. Where are you going to place your energy? Are you going to place your energy into anger? Are you going to place your energy into being on social media? Are you going to place your energy into sadness? Are you going to place your energy into work? Are you going to place your energy into other things to kind of, I don't want to say distract you, but get you away from reality? Because a lot of the times we need breaks with reality. We need breaks from reality. Right? Sometimes reality is just too much. And if you allow yourself to kind of get away from it by placing your energy in other avenues, then you're giving yourself time to breathe. You're giving your emotions, your mind, and your body time to breathe. You're giving yourself a break, right? I told a friend earlier in the week, you can't be woke all the time because you're gonna be tired at some point. Sometimes you just need a break. Sometimes you just need to kind of back off and determine where you're going to place your energy at. That's an important thing to understand, because it's important that we understand that we have a choice in what I'm going to focus on for that day. We have a choice in where I'm going to put my energy at. We have a choice in what my mood is going to be like today. So if going on Instagram right now is going to cause you to get angry, then don't do that. If going on Instagram right now is going to cause you to be sad, then don't do that. If going to work and being around this one specific coworker is going to piss you off, then hey, back off from that person. That friend or that job or shit, your pet, the cat that's in the house that's doing too much, whatever it is. If you need a break for something, take that break. But if you choose to place your energy towards something that is going to cause a specific emotion to arise, then be mindful of what emotion may come from it and confront it. If you place your energy towards what's going on right now and the emotion of anger pops up, confront that anger. Don't run away from it, right? Because the moment you run away from it, the moment you're going to hide it, you're going to stuff it. And when you stuff it, it's just going to boil over and it's just going to bust out. See, sometimes it may bust out on a specific person. Sometimes it may pop off on a specific thing. That's why it's important to not run away from that specific anger. So you can be mindful of where you are placing that anger at. Because if you're not mindful of where you're placing that anger at, then it's just going to go everywhere. And then you're going to be the one who's going to feel bad afterwards, because you've hurt someone you didn't mean to hurt. You've harmed someone you didn't mean to harm. You have a friend crying right now who you didn't want to cry. You may have hurt your friend or your spouse or whatever the case is. But that's if you choose to place your energy towards something that's going to cause some type of emotion to arise. And that's important, right? Don't be scared to place your energy towards something that's going to cause a specific emotion, right? Because that's going to give you that time to acknowledge it. That's going to give you that time to get used to that feeling. That's going to give you that time to feel your feelings. And that right there is important. The fact that we get in the mindset of, I need to feel my feelings today. I need to understand what my feelings feel like. So if you have to place all of your energy into feeling your feelings, into being mindful of what sadness feels like, into being mindful of what anger feels like, what frustration feels like, into being mindful of, what your anxiety feels like, then go ahead and do that. As long as you're doing that within a protective place, a controlled environment in which you're not going to cause yourself to go off of the ledge, cool. Because we have to get away from chasing happiness. We have to get away from chasing joy. Those are very, very important emotions, but also those are just emotions that are there. We need to get towards chasing all of our emotions and being whole. That should be the goal, being whole with everything, with every single emotion that's going to come with everything. So the self-care piece, I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen. Ask yourself every single day, where will I place my energy at today? Right? This morning I asked myself that exact same question, and I wanted to make sure I placed that energy into myself. Right? I told myself I'm going to focus on myself a whole lot more, because I have a tendency of putting a lot into other people. I have a tendency of putting a lot into other people, especially with the work that I'm doing as a therapist. And I was probably tested today at work, because work was really, really busy. But I had to take a step back and be like, nah, patience, y'all gonna chill. Like, y'all not finna get the best of me today. So self-care piece, I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen. Ask yourself every single morning, where will you place your energy at today? All right. So, Young Jazz.
What's up?
What's the deal, player?
Nothing. I mean, everything, I guess.
You just look too cool with this hair.
Thanks.
Everything.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
The gold, it looks all gold.
I need to get it re-dyed.
Re-dyed?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a process, like a very long process?
I mean, going to get your hair dyed at the...
I don't know. I spent 20 minutes in a seat.
No, I mean, it takes the same amount of time. I mean, it depends. Like, trying to match the color, and then they have to put the product in, all of that, and then rinse it out, make sure it's what you like, all of that. So I've never really thought about it. I've never had to explain that to anybody. When I say I have to go get my hair redyed.
Guys, we just spent our 20 minutes in our chair. And
some guys get their hair dyed, though.
I can't be one of those guys.
Mm.
I'm not. I don't know. I literally been getting the same haircut my whole life.
Mm.
I've been the same haircut my whole life. I've had the same barber since I was like in high school. Like,
you've been eating the same food
for like the past month and a half. I've been
it's
eating
probably
the same
been a little
food.
longer.
It probably has, but
That's
hey,
okay,
it's working with the goals that I have for myself.
Okay,
but
that's fair. What are you laughing at?
Jazz, how you doing?
I mean, I think it's so natural for us to say like, "Oh, I'm good" or whatever, but it's like I'm much better than the past few days. Was in a space of like a lot of just emotions everywhere and not even being like aware of them. But then when something happened, it's like, oh, I'm very emotional right now. Let me like escape this moment or whatever. But yeah, I'm now, instead of being like just hurt and feeling like a lot of the victim, I'm in a mood of like, okay, so what can we do now? What can I do? I'm not putting that on anybody else, because I know we all have like our different ways of healing, but I know like my place in my community, and I know that I'm one of the ones that have to like get up and be like, all right, we're gonna provide space, or we're gonna strategize, we're gonna provide solutions. So I'm feeling good and like inspired to do that work now. So okay, good.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, we're going to be talking about What the fuck is going on? That's the title of the show. Everything that's going on right now, man. And I appreciate the fact that you said we need to. You were in a place of a bunch of mixed emotions, but now I don't want to say that you're necessarily over them, but now that you've been able to, and I don't even want to say think clearer either.
But I'm able to put them to use.
There you go.
So the word that's been coming to my mind a lot during this, especially during the last week, is like weaponize.
Weaponize?
Yeah. Just using them as like weapons, basically. And I don't mean that in a way of like, oh, it's mass destruction or I'm going to go and cause harm to people. But sometimes you use weapons to keep people from causing harm to other people.
For real.
So just using those emotions as weapons so that I can like make a change with the people around me and beyond that. So
that's dope. That's weaponized. I thought you were gonna say organize and strategize. And
you know
all that
how
other
I'm
stuff.
coming, Willis.
I mean, I know.
We are using these as weapons so that we can it's a war, and you need these weapons. And what you've been given, I've been given these emotions, or these emotions have surfaced for me. So I'm using them as weapons.
Do you think using the word war is suitable?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's that dire. Like it's not a we're in a small battle. Like this is literally people fighting for their lives. Literally fighting for survival. Like we are suffocating at this point, and I think I use it very intentionally. I want people to understand I'm not moving this is we need to have conversations with people. No, this is a war, and we need to move like we are in a war. So yeah, that's the language that I think we should start using when it comes to Black lives.
Is it so a lot of the times only reason why I don't want to say I'm struggling with the word war, but more so war against who? And the only reason why I say that is because, and we've spoken about this off camera a bunch of times, but off camera, off show, but we've spoken about this numerous times, is that I don't think we need to place all of the energy towards being at war with them. Right. Being at war with the white folks.
True.
Right. I frankly think it's kind of useless. Because
I didn't say be at war with white folks.
That's what I was just going to ask. Okay. At war with who?
We have to. You get your home corrected. You get your home straight, basically. There's a lot of, and I'm not saying that there's a lot of things that we need to do to ensure our survival. I'm saying that we need to prepare ourselves to protect ourselves. So if there is a war within ourselves, a war within our own communities, we're preparing ourselves for that. And it's not necessarily to go to war to plead our case to white people, but if you step on our territory and you cross these lines again, we will have a way to deal with you, and and we're not going to go back and forth. It's just this is how you're going to get dealt with.
We have to get to a place to where we're protecting ourselves. I don't see us doing much of that. Period. I see us being quick to kind of be that individual that puts it out there that something is happening to Black folks, and be the one to kind of put it on there. But everybody doesn't need to really put it out there, right? Everybody doesn't need to be that reporter. There are some individuals that need to kind of there's a lot of people who need to be more
they need to be quiet.
Yes.
They need to just stop talking.
There's a lot of people who just need
please
to chill.
Delete the keyboard off your phone. Because you're not even helping anybody. You're not even helping the white people.
And I think they don't even know how destructive it possibly can be. From one, they don't know how destructive they can be, but also they don't know how much they're vilifying their own community. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know what certain people's intentions are, but when I hear war, I hear intentional. So I think it's important to be intentional about what are you doing within your specific tribe, within your specific household. But a lot of these people out here, it's okay, especially let's vilify Black people and tell Black people they don't need to do XYZ because they don't believe this is the right way to kind of get through something. And a lot of the times I don't see us standing on one accord. And I don't know if there has ever been truly one time in which we have been standing on one accord. Obviously, there's a foundation of, the problem, what it is, whether it be police brutality, whether it be black economics, whatever it is, there's a foundation. But us being on one accord, I believe, is vitally important when it comes to kind of weaponizing who we are as a people. Because if we're not all on one accord, then we're going to be going different directions. Then our message is going to get lost.
Yeah,
I think our message right now is lost. I don't think a lot of people understand. A lot of black people, I don't think they know what freedom looks like. I don't think we have a specific destination. I think we have a goal.
Yeah,
but I don't know if a lot of people know what that goal looks like. I think the strategizing piece is a part of it, but what does freedom look like for you?
Right.
What does freedom look like for your people? What does freedom look like for your household? I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with. And then the result of it is what's going on right now.
Yeah. I get that. And a lot of times we will sit in meetings or we will sit on social media and go, well, we need to have this. We need to have this. And it's like, well, what does it look like you said? I think, there's a lot of stuff that we've talked about off air, but I'm in a state now, and I think there are a lot of people like me that are just desperate. So I will often bring up like Candace Owens. I don't agree with her. I feel like she's very coon-like, but
did she say something in regards to this?
No, I mean, I don't really pay her any mind, but I just know her mental state.
Got it.
And a lot of the reasons why a lot of the things that she brings up are a lot of the things that I bring up. Now, the journey in which we feel like we should get to making those things better is not the same by any means. But we don't have room. There is no room for a black Democratic team and a black Republican team. We have to come together as one and realize that there is a goal. And it's like, okay, if this is where you want to go, we need to be able to come together and talk, because we're not going to be able to move if we have Candace Owens on this side and then we have someone like Tamika Mallory who is like pushing against everything that she's saying. I do understand that we've had like two leaders when it comes, two or more leaders in terms of like the black community when you look at like history, but they all, it seemed to me, had like a good head on their shoulders. They weren't really like fighting for the oppressor. And I think that's the difference between a lot of black people that are coming up now that are like, oh, I want to vote for Trump, or I want to be like a Republican or whatever. It's like, I don't know if they think it's a game, but they're in solidarity with the oppressor. And it's like, no, I don't think our black leaders before were ever like agreeing with the oppressor. They maybe had a different route. Like Martin was like, okay, peace a little bit, and then Malcolm was like violence, but it never was to sit with the oppressor. And I think that's our problem now.
Why do you think we kind of reach for that?
The oppressor?
Yeah, to kind of be cool with the oppressor.
We don't value ourselves. We don't see the value in blackness. We don't see the value in black minds. We don't love ourselves. And that's a problem when if you don't love yourselves, it'll show up in your political beliefs. It'll show up in the way that you move. It'll show up in the way you do your hair, like we were talking about earlier. It'll show up in the way that you eat. So I think a lot of these people, I mean, you have people that go to PWIs and they're just like, oh yeah, it's a better experience. And it's like, because you view blackness as something that's subordinate. And it's like, that's a problem. That you don't view blackness as something that can compete with anything, that can shatter anything. So to me, it's like, when I have these conversations and people talk off the wall, I'm like, well, you're definitely showing me a lot about who you are and what you feel about yourself and people that look like you. So yeah, I tend to stray away from those people, because it's like, if you don't love yourself, do not sit next to me in this war.
But also, a lot of those individuals are lost. Is it our job to help that person find their way? Nah, especially if that person is like 40, 50 years old and they're still on some like Uncle Ruckus type shit. It's like, well, you just be over there. But I think a lot of the times it's vitally important when it comes to like the youth. Vitally important when it comes to youth. Because when you mention PWIs and when you mention, some of the black people who go to PWIs and, their best experience, to me, their black experience may not have been the best. Because I have some friends, I don't don't really want to say friends, but I have some associates, some black people I've came across within, my life who I don't want to say were ashamed, but wasn't comfortable within their blackness solely because of what their black experience was like. And I think a lot of the time, black is so complicated for a lot of folks. Yeah. It scares some of us. Scares some of us who may not grow up in the hood, right? As if you have to be from the hood in order to be black, or you did not grow up a certain way. You didn't grow up with abuse, or some of the stereotypes that people assume black people automatically have to deal with. But some of my friends who are ashamed of not necessarily their blackness, but not cool with their black experience, it's easier for them to be amongst, white folks or anyone else because they don't have to live, like you said, within their blackness. I think a lot of the times we have to be okay with our specific black is, especially with right now and how I see black people on many different sides of the spectrum. Like, we need to be able to come together and just like hold people down. I don't see, especially when it comes to like a lot of these black folks who are out in the streets and they may be looting or they may be stealing or they may be doing whatever. We're so quick to put that black person down, but that's not solving the problem.
Right. And like I said, there's a lot of people that need to just be quiet. Like a lot of people that just don't need to say anything.
Just shut
like,
the fuck up.
Yeah, because it's like even with the mayor, Keisha Bottoms, and T.I. and Killer Mike, and I'm like, y'all got on national TV vilifying black people? Like, why would you get on here yelling at us, telling us, but you didn't get on here talking about what has been done? And I'm like, please don't act like, oh, because Atlanta is a black city now, or because Atlanta has been like the Mecca, that y'all haven't had bad, cops in that city. Like, let's not act like they don't need to riot there because you guys are there and they're using you as the face. It doesn't mean that the system isn't working against, like, black people in that place.
Exactly.
So my thing was just, like, sit down and be quiet. And then I was talking to a mentor today, and he was bringing up how they had to drag the couple. I think one was from Spelman and one was from Morehouse out the car, and like they tased them and all of that. And it's like, well, that's on you, Keisha Bottoms. Like, well, you went out here yelling and everything, and you weaponized these cops, and now they go and they're harming black people because they heard the sound of your voice.
Exactly.
So it's like you have to watch what you say, and if you are not sure on what to say, do not say anything. And if you feel like you're going to condemn black people, if that black person isn't going and saying George Floyd deserved what happened to him, then do not condemn them in this moment. I've pulled back on coming for black people within the past week because I know that we are all hurting and we're all dealing with things differently. I haven't seen any black person that has said that he deserved it. So I've kind of been like selecting my battles, but I think we all should feel like that. Like, there's some of us that really feel what's going on, and for people, black people, to get online and not speak against the cops' activities and what America has done, but to go and try to yell and chastise other black people for being emotional. It's like, please get off your phone. Like, can somebody please like disable their Facebook, because you're not being cognizant of like how you're making people feel, especially as black people.
We're so quick to save the other.
Yeah, and it's like, why do y'all run to go and save white people so quick? Like, what is that? Like, that's it's a mental illness that you feel like you need to go save white people who have a history of criminalizing, killing, and raping your people, but you feel like you need to be their savior. You have a mental illness. Maybe Willis can give you some referrals to some therapists, because you have a mental illness if you feel like you need to protect white people. White people gonna be protected to the day they die. Like, long after we are here, they will be protected.
And that goes into kind of a lot of the times what I've told you many of the times, right? I'm not upset or mad at that cop that killed Mr. Floyd. I'm not upset or mad at any racist coward for being a racist coward, right? I can't get mad at a liar for being a liar. I can't get mad at a thief for being a thief. I get mad at that individual who was there chilling, right? Do something about it. Disrupt it a little bit. And I think a lot of the times we are so distant from one another, but we're not looking at how much of an impact we could do if we just help each other.
Yeah.
Especially in those particular situations. And T.I. and Keisha Bonhams and Killer Mike is just like, and I think I told you this, it was cool to riot before it had hit their specific side of town. You know, it was cool to be, you know, do this and loot and all this other stuff when it hit until it hit their specific side of town. But they need to protect those individuals. And I didn't see the video, but I've heard of those two people who were in the car and got tased by the police. Where are you at now when it comes to protecting it?
Right.
Because now you're trying to tell someone how to be angry. You're trying to tell someone how they should release their anger, but you're not giving any other solutions outside of vote.
Right.
We've been saying go vote for years.
For a long time.
And that's not to say that voting is not important, but that's to say that voting is not going to be the number one solution all the time.
Right.
We can't be so quick to go to the polls and go vote and things like that.
Because what polls can I go to right now?
What polls can I go to right now?
And what polls could George Floyd go to when that man was killing him and had his knee on his neck?
100%. But also, you're going to vote for what specific system?
Right.
Like, we're going to vote and we're going to cooperate within this specific system, within this specific infrastructure.
Right.
The whole thing needs to be broken apart.
Yeah.
Right? And we cannot get mad at those races. We cannot get mad at the system for doing the system's job, which is to protect the white folks and put us down. So we need to, like what you said, weaponize. Be intentional about the work that we're doing, but be mindful and don't be so quick to react.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people being so quick to hit their keyboard and want to record this and want to do that and things of those sorts. When sometimes we need to take a step back and just watch.
Yeah, like get off Facebook. Like do that. And I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, get off Facebook and like feel it for a little bit and think before you post, because there's been a lot of people that I've had to like, you know, check about it and just kind of go like, well, why, what do you expect for us to do? Like I had somebody say like, well, let's kill him with kindness. And I'm like,
let's kill him with kindness.
That's what this man died, and there's other men that have died, and you come in here like a kindergarten teacher talking about kill them with kindness. Like you don't, and it makes me upset to the point where I'm like, I don't ever want to wish that on anybody, but I'm like, I need for this to hit so close to home for you so that you can get in line.
That's the only way people are going to be able to understand.
It's for it to hit, and then that's what I was going to say to your point about I don't know what my emotions are towards that cop. I think my emotion, I don't really put a lot of energy into these racist people.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm not mad at him, but I will say that I am extremely hurt and I am enraged that there are people, even black people, who are just now waking up. I see people who ain't never posted nothing before now going and posting things, and I'm like, why didn't the first time make you feel like it could have been someone that you love? Why did it take so long? Why did we not value the emotions of that first family member?
Do you think it's wrong for them to be disconnected?
If you, like not feeling anything? Yeah, I think that I feel like that's
not feeling anything, but just I don't want to be a part of it.
Oh yeah.
Why?
It could be you. So if you don't feel like, if you don't want to be a part of it, then go sacrifice yourself so we don't have to fight for you. Go if you don't want to fight for it, then get rid of you so we don't have to waste energy on you. Go sacrifice yourself. You go put yourself in harm's way so they can go ahead and take care of you, so we don't have to worry about it. If you feel like this is not your movement, because we're fighting for so many people, and we're fighting for even the people that there can be a black man or a black woman who is yelling, saying, no, black people are wrong, but we are still fighting for your life. Mm-hmm. Because the white people do not ask, well, what did you post on Facebook in 2013 with Trayvon Martin? Oh, okay, we're going to let you live. Like, no. They see black, you're a threat immediately.
But I say everybody doesn't need to be a part of the fight.
No, you can sit down, but don't sit up here and say that you don't care.
Got it.
Sit down, get off Facebook, delete your keyboard.
Yeah.
But sit down.
Because everybody does not need to be a part of the fight. Like you brought up, you brought up Candace Owens before.
Yeah.
I don't believe she needs to be a part of the fight. I believe she needs to be one of those individuals that needs to just take a seat back,
sit down,
and just watch,
and put your seat
and just
on.
Look, right? Because there are a lot of folks who are just like, disconnected from this. Do I feel like it is wrong for them to be disconnected from it? Not necessarily. I think 100%. If you say that what's happening right now is not affecting you or making you feel anything, you're 1,000% lying to yourself, right? But I think at the same token, it goes back into my question earlier: where are you placing your energy towards? Because I think a lot of black folks don't understand that you are doing a miraculous thing for the community if you just pay all of your focus on your one black boy.
Yeah.
Right? If you're just doing one thing at a time, because there's a lot of people who just need to sit down. There's a lot of people who get out here who want to be super activist and all of these things, but they're fucking up a lot of things, right? They're making, a lot of the wrong statements.
And there's some of them that don't even want to be activists. They just want to be loud. And I'm like, when you talk about being an activist, like, let me explain to you what my week has looked like. I mean, I have published workout on the matter at hand. I also have put together Zoom calls, been on Zoom calls with middle school age boys, been on Zoom calls with high school students, being on here talking about it. Did another podcast on Wednesday talking about it. Like, that is the activism work that people are doing. Like, no, I'm not out there rioting, but what I am doing is making sure that people are aware of the issues and using my intellect to make sure that people that aren't aware of the issue, that don't feel our pain, are feeling it. But there's some people who will just sit behind their screens and just sit behind their phones, and they won't really come to help. And like, I made a post about it today, and I was just like, if you're going to be loud about people rioting and you're against that, when we come up with resources on how to strategize and how to move forward, whether it's a Zoom call or in person, you have to be in a seat. Like, you want to talk about, oh, that's not the way, but then when we come up with the way that is peaceful or that is strategic, you're not willing to show up. And I've been doing this work for a while, and people have not shown up.
Don't critique without providing something.
Right, or without simply just lending an ear. So when we have these Zoom calls, because they're coming, and there's a lot of us that are strategizing. Like, there's a lot of people that I'm talking to, and we are ready to lead for you guys, but show up. Like, just, that's all we're at. You don't even have to put your camera on, put the mic on. Just show up and let us know that you are there. And that's it. That's all we're asking for. But you telling us not to riot, you telling us not to loot, like, please go sit down. And you don't have any solution. Like, y'all don't even know what being black in America really feels like, because you guys don't even highlight your own emotions. You guys have maxed those for so long, and you want to tell us that have been experiencing our emotions in a very raw form how to act. And it's like, no. Please stop.
But even, I mean, like, I'm always gonna be big on deal with what's in your household first versus anything else.
Of course.
To all of those individuals, because I think there's too many people trying to be leaders. Way too many people trying to be leaders. A lot of people want to be that face. A lot of people want to be out there. There's too many people who want to be first, right? And they're not paying attention to what's going on in their backyard. I think a lot of the times when people are not willing to get out there, they're kind of, posting this to be able to say, like, hey, I did it. Say his name, say my name. All of these slogans are just kind of, it sucks. It's become a trend, right? Black Lives Matter has become a trend. Say his name, say her name has become a trend. It sounds very, very trendy now because it's the thing that we think that we're supposed to do in order to show our support. But there's a lot of people who don't know how to. There's a lot of people who think that, hey, okay, the only support that I am able to do, it's just to post about this, or to comment, or to put in my story, or whatever the case may be. Without understanding that, you are being an activist by providing everything to just your household. And I think a lot of the times we're not paying attention to how important that is right there.
Yeah.
Just supporting one another. Yeah. Don't be so quick to kind of critique certain people that are coming up with strategizing, certain people that are organizing and doing certain things without providing some type of other solution or other choice or whatever it is. And that's the one thing that I have a big issue with. We always kind of get down on that one individual that try to put themselves out there. We always get down on that person and try to put themselves out there. Then we wonder why ain't nobody willing to do it. Yeah. Because the whole community
willing to do the leadership work.
Willing to do that leadership work because everybody else is looking at them like, oh, well, he don't know what he's doing. I'm not.
And it takes a while because I've probably been out here since like 2017, and I'm young, but I would like to think consistent in my line of thinking, and consistent in the message that I pushed since 2017, but I've had a lot of people in the beginning stages that pushed back against me and were like, you're you know, you are crazy and misguided or whatever. But now there's so many messages that I've got within the last week. I've hopped on lives and people have just like stopped what they were talking about and like poured into me. And I think people are starting to appreciate the work. So it's one of those things like, yes, it's going to be tough in the beginning. And I know I'm probably still in my beginning stages. I know that. But it's like people see what you are doing. There's people that I didn't even know were like paying attention to me or paying attention to the work. But they see what you're doing and they're just, you know, like taking note. And there's people whose minds you're changing by like, you know, posting things. And that's why it's so dangerous when people who are unsure of what to say just post whatever. Because there are people who are looking, whether you have one person or you have 1,000 people, there's somebody looking to you for some type of advice. And that's definitely been proven to me throughout this past week. And I feel supported by my community in the work that I've been doing. But it took 3 years for me to feel like, okay, now I can really move in a way where I'm being backed by so many.
Have you ever been at a place to where you was unsure
of doing the work?
In the early stages?
Not really unsure. No. You get like, you wonder. I often wonder because I'm very aggressive, like with my movement or the things that I say. Like maybe I should tone it down, or maybe I'm coming too hard because people aren't gonna accept me like that. But
nah.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah, I've realized like it is what it is.
Nah.
Right. So it is what it is. If you like it, you do. If not, I really do not care. But like it's a war, so I'm sorry I can't tiptoe to the like front line. Like you have to go with aggression.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, the foundation is the same. Everybody just needs to hear the message a little bit differently.
Yeah.
There are certain people who are going to understand your aggressiveness. They're going to understand the passion, right? They're going to understand the aggression and the passion that's coming from it.
Right.
Certain people certain people are going to back off.
And they'll appreciate it. And I've learned, like, okay, I posted a video, Tuesday? And that was a very, like, calm tone. That was a very, like, that was calmer than how hard I would normally go. But I had to also understand, like, if you learn how to speak and you learn how to weaponize your intellect and you learn what words to say, the power is going to be in the words, and then you don't have to utilize all of this emotion. And that's what I've learned and how I've matured over the years. So, like, that video that I posted, that was like what is the word? Like a result of me, you know, taking time to learn, like, okay, weaponizing my intellect and being like, well, what words can I say? What examples can I use to make sure this hits home? And I think I ended it like, you know, if you have like a disease with black people and you raise this son, by the time he becomes a police officer, he might kill my son because of the disease that you have.
Yeah.
And I don't have to yell that. Like, that's powerful in itself. Like, when you think about it, like, you may not be racist, but the fact that you're uncomfortable around black people, when your son gets into a fearful situation with a black person, he's going to, you know, divert back to how his mother reacted when black people were around. And because he has a gun, he might shoot my son. And I didn't have to yell. I didn't have to, like, put my finger in nobody's face and be like, F you. Like, no. You take that. Swallow that. And go home and try to fix it.
Because there's a place and time for it all.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and as you said earlier, I had to kind of step back with my emotions first, get those in check. Not necessarily in check, but understand how to weaponize them, like what you just said.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just the biggest thing amongst everything that I've been having a problem with. It's just the folks outside of black people who are too quick kind of take on our struggle as their own. To take on our struggle as their own. The protests that a lot of these things going on, way more white people or Hispanics or anyone else outside of, you know, the black community that is out there, you know, doing certain things and using this struggle as an excuse to kind of to act a fool.
And it's My thing is, I see a lot of non-black people that are posting, a lot of non-black people that are enraged. A friend and I were talking, and we were just like, I'm not really celebrating any non-black person anymore. Like, I'm not putting my energy towards that. Like, we see it. And thank you for not being racist, but that's like expected of you to be a good person, because I don't see you in that light. I don't. So it's one of those things, like, yes, go out there, but then, like you said, it's your home, and that's what I made the video about. Like, you can go out here and say Black Lives Matters and Asians for Black Lives Matter and whatever, but at the end of the day, when you go home, what is the situation that you're living with? When you're drunk with your friends, what are they saying about black people? To the ones that have kids, what are they putting on their TikTok,
all of this is
Instagram
down?
Yeah, so when you go back home after you've done Black Lives Matter, and we don't get to take off our skin, but you get to take off the shirt that you're wearing, you get to put down the poster, you get to wash off all of that blood, sweat, and tears that you didn't cried and all of that. What environment are you going back into? And if somebody says something, are you strong enough to speak up? And if you do that work, we won't know it until years down the line. But you guys just have to stop expecting for us to praise you for trying to get people to understand that we are humans. And I'm just no longer willing to put effort into that. I'm not teaching nobody how to do it. I'm not. Now, there are people that are black that are good with that, but that's not my calling. It's just not
where you at.
Yeah, and I'm not teaching nobody how to see us.
Yeah, everybody has a specific role, and everybody should play everybody has a part to play within a specific journey. That's just not your part. Nope. And I think it's important that that's just not your part. I think it's important that you don't tone down your voice. I think it's important that you don't turn down your voice, because I think I told you this a few weeks ago, and that you move with a certain type of strength, and that strength is needed for a certain population. But for like a lot of the non-black folks out there who are using our struggle as a means to be able to say, hey, I did it, or I protest, or I was able to do
or
this.
Or to appease yourself.
Exactly.
Appease the racist that's in you, and you go and you're like, oh, okay, this makes me less racist. And it's like, no, it doesn't. I mean, I was driving down the street here and saw some white people out there, and I'm like, to the natural eye, of course, it's like, wow, thank you. But then you go back and you realize why they needed it, why they need to be out there, and then you realize, like, okay, that's a very small piece in making the change. So anybody that's non-black that is listening, like, it would be more of a benefit to us that we don't see you, but in your household you're getting that together,
because it starts there.
Yeah, and I would appreciate that work. Like if I'm sitting with you and you talked about a conversation that you had with your mother, a conversation that you had with your father, a conversation that you're having with your children, I would appreciate that conversation more than actually seeing you go off on social media. I want real change. I don't want to be pacified.
You don't want this to kind of be
a trend. Exactly. That's what it is. And for the ones that are going out there and talking to their family members, like, we appreciate you. You don't have to post about it, because the real work is going to be when that person that you're talking to has a changed mindset, when the kids that you're raising, when they're like, no, black people are good, or they don't even have to say that black people are good, because you've dismantled the fact that they can't be good.
Exactly.
Like, when you do that work, I appreciate that. And I don't even need to know. Just know if that's what you're doing, we appreciate you so much, because that's the work. Like, you ain't gotta even hashtag Black Lives Matter. You ain't gotta put on a shirt. You don't have to come up to the rally for us. Like, utilize your energy on you and yours. That's what's needed.
I feel like you just vented the whole show.
Did I? I think I've been venting a lot, but my emotions are at a much better place today than they were a few days ago. So, this is what black people need,
and I think it's important. It's beyond important that voices like you, obviously you're never going to shut up. Obviously, like that.
You don't think so?
That's never going to happen. Like, never. But it's voices like you that need to be protected. Voices like you that need to be protected by the black community, because there are too many folks that I see that will put down voices like you, because it's just not the type of voice that will work for them. Yeah. Right? Because it's not calm and soothing and soft and subtle and all of these things. Right? There are certain people who need the Martin Luther King type of voice, and there are certain people who need the Malcolm X type of voice. And whichever way you decide to go, find what works for you. But never forget and never put down those other people, because we're all working towards the same destination.
Yeah, and I've had to learn that. Like, you know, initially I thought, like, if you're not going as hard as I am, and if you don't have my views, then go sit down. But now it's like, okay, we all have different roles. The only people that I'm telling to go sit down are the people that are confused.
Yeah.
But everybody else, like, we have different roles, and I appreciate that. Like, I feel like it's necessary.
Exactly.
But thank you. Yeah, I feel like my community does protect me.
Oh no, we do.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I was thinking a lot of black men that back me, and I'm grateful for that. That I have that support from them, and they've told me thank you, you know, for the work that I've done
Countless
for them.
times.
So it feels good. I think, you know, there's a lot of it's sad that, like, movements are going to get started because of, like, what's happening now, and that our movements can't just be, like, great without the death of another black man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I appreciate my community. So, like I said, so many people have reached out to me and just been like, you know, thank you, or what do you think about this, and what do you think about that? And I'm like, I've thought about what you said, like, okay, you have to pull back. Like, I literally had 2 more conversations that day, and the next morning I had another conversation. So I'm just like, you know, calculating that and sometimes sitting back. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So the mental health piece, like, and you can't do this work if you're, like, not actively acting in self-care, or if you're not
for real,
checking in on your emotions, because, like,
it's gonna weigh you down.
Tuesday and Wednesday, I think I went to sleep at like 4 a.m. I had to put on, like, a movie to help me go to sleep, like, to only go to sleep for like 3 hours. I've been eating healthy, just threw off my whole diet.
Yeah,
like,
it did. And you trying to use me as your bad habit, but I feel it.
No. I was drinking smoothies every morning for about like 2 weeks, getting up early. And I just, after the first day, I was like, I'm not getting up. I was getting up around 8. I'm like, yo, I'm in bed till 1. Like, you know, so I'm getting back to it. I have a smoothie today. So this is like the second day that I've just made my smoothie. But, you know, it's a lot. And then also, I know I'm rambling, but to the people that don't know, like, what it feels like to be black in this time, a lot of us are experiencing anxiety. Like, it's not just the family of the person that passed. Like, a lot of us, like I said, my eating habits changed, my sleeping habits have changed. A lot of us have to get on Zoom calls and still be professional. And it messes with our minds. It messes with, like, if you have depression, it might trigger that. So a lot of us are, like, going through a lot of different things. So be patient. Other black people, be patient with other black people. I know I'm telling people to sit down, but, like, I could say a lot worse. So
for real,
sit down is the nice thing.
Just gotta chill.
Yeah.
But black people, be patient with other black people, and quit trying to force black people to fight the way that you fight. Everybody fights differently. And everybody fights differently, and everybody's form of fighting may not align with yours. Somebody may not be as, let's say, aggressive or militant as a jazz. As long as the work is done, as long as it's intentional, as long as we're meeting the same goal, that's what's most important. But be patient with one another. Let somebody be in their feelings. Let somebody be angry. Let somebody be mad. Let's not be so quick to kind of shoot somebody down. And that's what we're doing right now. That's what we have to make sure we kind of get away from. It's a lot of different ways we can go about it. But thank you for coming, Jazz.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on.
Don't say it.
I wasn't. Okay. You about to out yourself. No, I'm glad to be back on here to talk about these issues. So and then to, like, black people, like, yo, embrace your power, find some comfort, find some peace. Like, we all deserve it. We deserve it. So I want to just send that to us, like, whatever it is that you need. I think a lot of us just need, like, peace. A lot of us still aren't sleeping. A lot of us still ain't eating right. So, you know, be a rebel and get yourself back on track. Like, go against those feelings and make sure, like, if it's a smoothie or if it's like you used to go and run in the morning, you don't feel like doing it, go walk. one day and then get back on your regimen. But that's like a rebellion when you can fight against like the negative feelings that you have.
Because they're going to be there and they're going to constantly be there. And it's fucked up to say this, but a situation like this is going to happen again within a few months.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, maybe
it's already happened. You don't know, but it will happen again.
Yeah.
You know, so those negative things, that devil on your shoulder that's telling you do this, do that, do this, do that out of anger or rage or whatever, understand that your anger and your rage is warranted. It's important. It's vital.
Yeah.
But just take a second to take a step back and just kind of figure out how, like Jazz said, weaponize it. Because it's important that we take care, we be patient with each other, but we also be patient with ourselves. And we give ourselves the time to kind of heal. We give ourselves the time to kind of take a step back. Yeah. So we can get back into the place that we need to be without trying to rush to getting back to our center. Because it gets thrown off a lot. Yeah. It gets thrown off a whole lot. Yeah. Constantly gets thrown off. But you have the ability to get there. You have the ability to live your black experience. Yeah. You just have to be patient with it and get there when you get there. Don't allow me or Jazz or anyone else to kind of tell you where to go, how to move, do whatever you can. It's your black experience, live it your way, but also understand that, you know, you have to give yourself time. Because no matter how much you try to run away from it, because I see a lot of black folks running away from it, no matter how much you try to run away from it, no matter how much you try to purposely disconnect, you still have to live in it. Yeah. Regardless of where you're at, regardless of if you're one of the black folks who grew up in a suburban neighborhood and you feel as if you are better than the others and you will never come across a situation as such, you still have to live within it. Right. So give yourself time to figure out what your black experience is going to be and live within that.
And it's going to be it's our experience in America is not going to change. It's not going to change in a while. So even though we see a lot of work and we might think like, oh, a lot of stuff is happening, it's going to change quick. It's like, no, we're going to be feeling this for a while. We may even be triggered again by things like this. But like, we have to make sure we're good. We definitely do have to make sure we're good. And if the fight is not for you right now, there are those of us that are still putting out the information and the reason to fight. So once you are ready, like, it's there. Hit us up.
And if you don't want to fight on a grand scale, that's cool. But just fight in your household, fight for your kid, fight for your family. Yeah. That, to me, that's
eating healthy. That's exactly a fight. Like, for black people, that's a huge rebellion, is to eat healthy and then to have your family members eating healthy. Like, exactly. So those are, you know, small things.
Small stuff add up is gonna turn into something good, man. Yes. Jazz, once again, appreciate you so much.
Yeah, of course. Always, whenever you call.
Don't say whenever.
I mean, I proved that. So let's not. Maybe we should get off the air before.
I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you
I
too.
thoroughly do. Everything you do. All right? Thanks. As always, to those individuals who are listening and tuning in and all that good stuff, good looking. When you hear this tomorrow or the next day or whenever you get the chance, good looking, man. I appreciate you too, man. Black folks, take care of yourself. Black folks, understand your blackness is dope. Black folks, understand you define what your black experience is. Black folks, don't put other black folks down. Be patient with one another. But at the same time, understand you are dope. Do not allow the media, do not allow white cops, do not allow racism, do not allow anybody to let them put the thought in your head that you ain't worth it, that you ain't shit, that you're not anything. You're a man, you're a woman, but understand you're a black before anything else. And make sure you live within your question. All right? Make sure you live within your blackness. All right? So as always, understand, ain't no wealth without your mental health. So please stay blessed. Take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Peace.